All right, BobalosRex here, and this lore rant started as one. FY, this lore rant is gonna have midnight spoilers from the alpha, data mining, and I'm gonna be theory crafting. FYI, I'm gonna have spoilers for the point one data mining. All right, and maybe some stuff that's going on in midnight that I know. But the main brunt of this video is gonna be going over the possible final bosses of Midnight. So, aka, we're going to talk about 12.1 because I'm going to use the data mining of 12.1 and the info we got about that to be like, okay, so we get this for 12.1. How do we get from there to 12.2? Who can be the bosses there? Who could be the zones? Who's going to be the renown? What's going to be the raid? And then how does that lead into Last Titan? All right. I've already kind of did a video talking about this, but with new stuff, right, comes new speculation. All right. So let's get into it. So, FYI, spoilers. All right. I'm about to pull up spoilers. All right. All right. Let's get into it. Boom! We got a map of Midnight. So, I'm going to be real. With this map of Midnight, this is from the alpha. Do y'all see what I see? I feel like y'all kind of see what I see, right? We all know that island, right? I was literally basing off trajectories. Remember, I was like, Windrunner Spire is here, so we know that. We see this giant mountain here. So this is going to be the point one. Now, you may be thinking, before I was talking like maybe a 0.5 or a 0.7 or something. Well, let's get into the spoilers. So, why I did some data mining. Remember when we got ethereal data mining back in Goblin Raid data mining back in War Within? Well, guess what? We hear it again. It's here again. Raid Warlock Ulatik. Let me tell you, this Warlock set, look at this Warlock set, bro. Chains, flaming gloves. We had the map name from the Isle of Fangs, which is funny because it's the two mountains, right? Like, if y'all, you can look, y'all know how much I was staring at those mountains. And then when I found out they weren't a region, I was instantly like, okay, this has something to do. And I did go back. I went back and I did find where I mentioned Ulatik, and it was such a light mention. I'm like, damn, I could have been right there. But there is an Amani guy in the comments too that we talked about this island who actually got me to look at these screenshots of this place because, oh shoot, I didn't bring them up. But there's screenshots. When he mentioned poison and then the snake, I was like, oh yeah, it's got to be that, 100%. Duh. And then yeah, we got Kithix. Is he gonna pop up? So we got this 12.1 where we're gonna have Ulatik. You know, Taliesin and Evitel already talk about it, or Taliesin already talked about it for the most part. You know, I'm glad it's a big. I hope it's a big giant snake. All right. So we know Ulatik most likely going to be involved. The zone is going to be this Atal Utek. And then we got Zul'Jan. I was reading through the alpha. And the reason I didn't do a whole lore rant about this is because I don't have alpha access. And I really want to show it off and look into it. But I was reading. So Zul'Jan most likely going to be involved. Ulatek most likely going to be involved. Now, the big questions are, is Kithix and Xal'atath involved? All right. And then, like I said, how does this big... Because I'm calling it the troll patch. In my opinion, 12.1 is the troll patch. that we need, that we deserve. Okay? Let's roll it back. Remember when I was talking about my patch theories? I do miss some patches, right? No one's going to be 100% with their predictions unless they, have some inside information. But let's go over it. So we got War Within. If we remember Dragonflight, you know how themed each patch was. I've been noticing this very good theming that they've been doing for each patch lately. So, War Within, we had main patch. We had Earthen. We had a little bit of a Wrathy. And we had spiders. Then it was spider time. Then we were doing spider raids, spider, all that. Right? Then we had goblins. And then it was goblins. You had the mixed little patches, which kind of aren't really as thematic. They do have little themes, but they're not as thematic. Right? Because they aren't having a raid. They aren't usually having a zone. Some have a zone like Siren Idol. What was Siren Idol's theme? Alright, like I said. It did have some good stuff. This isn't denigrating the patches themselves. I'm talking about themes of patches. So, then we had Ethereal Patch, Koreshi Patch. And let me tell you, it brought like all the lore, brokers and ethereals together into the Koreshi Patch, right? So I think that's great. Now, let's get into this. Elf patch, right? We know base midnight is elf patch with the little Zulamon sprinkled in, right? So, elf patch, right? I'm counting these as elves. These are like but even, dude, the lore with the Harnier, oh my god. They go all the way back to primitive trolls. I wouldn't put them as a missing link or anything like that. They are a life offshoot. They're like primal trolls, but in like a weird magical way. All right. But like they are descended from dark trolls, I would say. But yeah, so we got elves and then like the origin right over here. So let's follow this through line. We got a little bit of troll. If we're getting this Utek patch, this isle, Troll Isle, it's got the patch has to be troll themed, right? I want to see Dark Spear. I want to see the Zandalari with the Yamani, with the whole Zulamon questline that I was reading through. Right? We basically help Zoljara get all the Loa together. She becomes this new, like, super war chief, basically. But basically the war chief of the Amani clans with the Loa's help. Basically what Talanji is for the Zandalari. We need to see this continue. This whole quest line, helping the Amani, we are doing it with Liadrin, with a blood elf. Where are the trolls? So, I do hope so much so that the troll patch lives up to its hype. But enough about that. Okay? Because I did want to make that its own lore rant itself. But I want to be able to show it. Okay? But we need this troll patch, and I want it jam-packed with good stuff. Like I said, I am gonna do its own lore rant when I get in. But troll patch, right? So that's the troll patch. That needs to be the troll patch. The troll patch happens to be right here. And I'm gonna be real. I feel like they plan out these maps really far ahead. Because let's take a look at the current War Within map. Oh, that's not. All right. And let me pull up the original. All right. So, remember this map? Remember this map? The original map. They kind of planned. It does look like they kind of planned here. Let's see. You see this little... To me, it's weird. We see this, like, effect. And it does... To me, it feels different, right? To me, this feels different than, like, this. But you see this, like, effect here. Right? And I guess... this map may be a symptom of what we call the switcheroo. But they did basically just take this Khazar, flip it, and then we got Koresh. Right? So you can see, boom. This little addition over here, that. So the map was built for it, and they can adjust stuff, honestly. So this is crashing. But they can adjust stuff. But I really feel like, since they really want to give us a lot of this room on that side, I guess, on here, over here, I think the new zones for the patches are going to be over here. So we got this Isle of Fang. So we got 12.1 troll patch, boom, big trolls. Right? Now, what is 12.2? So, I have some theories. All right. So let's go down the list. Zones. What kind of zones can we... Actually, no. We got to start with bosses. Because here's the thing. Y'all know how I feel about WoW bosses. WoW... between expansions, boss power levels can vary. Like, a Razageth isn't more powerful than the Jailer. Right? But... in an expansion, the power level of antagonists do kind of have to go up, usually. Now, so we know who the final bosses of the raids are now. It's been spoiled of the base raids. I don't really need to get into that. We do know one character may still be running around, and let's go over my selection of final bosses. Okay, there could be more, but let's go over my selection. So first off, we got Xal'atath. Can Xal'atath... Alright. One Xal'atath would be more powerful than, like, a Kithix or something. I do think, like, a big bad, like, Kithix, Loa Infusion, a bunch of stuff could be more powerful than the bosses we see going into base Midnight. At the end, even though what we're fighting at the end of these raids is very powerful, we can see Xal'atath at the end. Now, if I see Xal'atath at the end, where would we fight her, right? Voidstorm 2? The only places I could see fighting her could be, like, another Xerath, right? If she tried to pull what the Jailer was pulling. And I'd rather not see that, and I don't think they're going to go with that, but I can't say that that couldn't be a possibility, right? So, in that case, we could see a Xerath Umbra, or a Xerath Lumen. If Xal'atath is working on behalf of the Void, maybe she would want to get into the alternate Xerath. Okay, so she is still kicking. Could that be where she goes? And then when we fight her there, she gets turned into a light creature or something. Something crazy, right? So with Xal'atath in her zone and stuff, I was like, so maybe she could be in like a Xerath Umbra, Xerath Lumen, and we fight her as like a Void God or a Light Lord. And as far as Renown, I was like, we could just have like a coalition force or something. We could just find new brokers in there. A new kind of ethereal. The ethereals follow us there. If we do go to Xerath Umbra, the ethereals could follow us, right? That would be a good opportunity to get the Koreshi, right? The Koreshi, if we go to one of the Xeraths out into space. And out into space would be something you could put over here, like these two. All right. Another reason why I feel like the two spots are like here and right here is because you see this like gap. You see this gap? I feel like there's something gonna be there. You see what I'm saying? I feel like there's something like you could have like a triangle part like cut over to here if there's like an effect. Especially for like a Zareth. A Zareth would have that triangular like Zareth Mortis did. So we could see like Zareth Lumen, Zareth Ortis. So that's one possibility with the Xalatath. Now, what would the raid? The raid could be like a blank of the first one. So like, what would Shadow be? Void of the first. I don't know. Because for Zareth, it was Sepulcher, so it was like Graveyard of the first ones. So I don't know. I really don't know. Lamp of the first ones. Lava Lamp of the first ones. So I don't know for Light, something like that. For Void, I don't really know, man. But I think that could be interesting. Do I think that's likely? Honestly, it's the bottom of my list. That's why I started with it. Next up, I'm going to go with this one. There's like two people I could feel representing this kind of side of the fight. So there's a couple of old places we could go to. So let's go to the first one. Grand Exarch Turelion. Now, if y'all know my theories already, I think he's going to die. I think he's going to die in the Void Spire, straight up, blah, or retired, okay, in some way or another. But if he's not, where could he be a boss of? Well, one thing they can do is say we go back over here and we do get that light plague lands kind of dealio. That could be something. But honestly, I'm not really down with the whole Turelion thing, but I wanted to mention it because I saw someone else talking about possible bosses. And they mentioned Turelion, and I'm just like, because I don't see going from where we're at, right? From fighting where we're at to fighting Turelion. Because think about, we're playing Legion Remix right now. What's one of the scenes we're going to see in Legion Remix in 3 weeks? We're going to see Turelion's boss get obliterated by one I-beam, right? One I-beam. Illidan one-shot Zera. Illidan clicked Trinket, right? Illidan trinketed, and then clicked I-beam. Zera dusted, okay? Then Turelion was like, I'm going to Crusader strike you, and Illidan was like, stop. Get some help. I can't take him seriously as a final boss of an expansion. I cannot take that seriously. I'm sorry. I cannot take him seriously. Alright, I'm going to be real. So, he could be, though. I can't paint that picture. The only picture I could paint it would be over here. Right? This would be the Stratholme boss. Alright, now I'm thinking Stratholme's going to be a mega dungeon. Maybe at this point. But we'll see. So that's what I think about High Exarch Turelion doing anything. Next up, we got to talk about a real Exarch. They could show up. It would be a little funky, but they could show up, especially with some stuff going on. Grand Exarch Yrel. Okay? We have infinite time dragons taking us to different timelines, aka different universes. WoW universes. We in the WoW multiverse. We just had a quest line on the PTR, which y'all aren't going to see the issue with it, but there was like a timey-wimey issue with an orc quest line on the PTR. But it is interesting that they wanted to mention Maghar's stuff. Orc stuff. Alright? The final patch, we could see Yrel pull up from the other timeline. Now, the problem I see with that, here's the problem, right? So what's the zone, right? Is the zone alternate Draenor again? Are we back in Outland? Is it just Outland or Draenor 2? And then we get Shattrath the Raid, right? Do they literally ooh, oh my god, that would be crazy. They update all of Draenor or Outland in a way. And they give us something like that. It would have to be Draenor because it is the alternate Draenor. But it could also, she invades through the Dark Portal and we head down, right? We're in Eastern Kingdoms. Maybe we just head down, right? In BFA, we had an expansion where the end zones were old expansion zones. I don't think those zones went over as well, especially when you're trying to run stuff on alts. But we went back to Uldum. We went back to the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. Maybe we're going back through the Dark Portal. Maybe it changes again to the light, and we got to go through there, and it's like a whole new little area of Draenei stuff, right? Or it just lands. Maybe she lands, it portals in from another timeline. Boom, I'm here. What's up? I'm here. Right? So we see alternate Zenithar land and be like, yo, it's time to raid. But as much as I would like that, I do find it hard to get a zone that's like perfectly sized for that, but I'm not going to put it out completely because I still would like to see it. Right? I also have that. Yeah, I have alternate Zenithar, alternate Shattrath. Maybe we portal into Shattrath. I just don't know how they develop it. If like, is a patch zone? Like I said, she's either busting in and it's a change zone in our area, and then the raid is like dictated by Yrel, or like we're talking about like a massive Draenor change, right? We see Draenor now in the future, right? So those are like the bottom three. Now I'm gonna tell y'all my top two predictions. So now we're getting into my top two choices for the point two. And again, with us fighting the light, I do think we are going to fight the light, actually. But I think we're going to do it through a different individual. But let's get back to the light later. Let's talk about Naga. So, Maria Hamilton in that one interview was like, no, there's not going to be... No, we're not... The Naga ain't going to show up. Even though we literally see hints of them around here in some of the screenshots. If you look at some of the screenshots of this zone, we see Murloc huts. I know Murlocs don't equal Naga, but Naga have used Murlocs. So I'm like, So, I can see Ashara being the final boss of an expansion. And like, let's go to back to Yrel real quick. Yrel is strong enough in our heads to be a final boss, right? Because we don't know how much she's been juicing. She could be in alternate Draenor, just juicing up with the light, right? Just working out. Like when she comes back, she's just like Space Emperor Yrel, right? Turbo Blast, right? So she can be strong enough. I don't think Tyrolean can be. That's my point. Xal'atath can be. How is Ashara going to be strong enough? Because we already kind of fought her. Ascended Ashara. I've talked about this before, but Ascended Naga. We could see a Naga zone pop up over here. There were the original Dragon Islands, which were islands off the coast of northern Lordaeron, which were Old God themed. We could see that creep up. Not call them the Dragon Isles, but call them something else. But we use that idea. We have an island rise up, a Naga Isle rise up. We can do that. We pull up the old gods. Okay, we have the Nerubians ascending with old god blood. Why wouldn't the Naga use that same thing? Right? We have the Song of the Depths that I mentioned before, where the Naga on the Forbidden Reach talk about how Ashara will return when the Harbinger does something with the heart. I can't remember the exact quote, but something with the heart. The Harbinger is doing something with the heart over here, you know? So, I can see ascended Ashara, and Ashara free of her bindings of Nazoth, free of her bindings of the Legion, ascending her true throne. Basically, that's how she would see it. Hold on. So yeah, all Black Blood empowered, Queen Ashara, ascended Naga. Maybe they got feet. Setting up Naga allied race. I think that would be a cool storyline to do. I think that could be over here, over in this direction. You know, a new zone pops up over here. Now, so that would be the zone. What would the raid? I'm thinking like maybe Old God Ruins, maybe 5th Old God. Maybe we get that 5th Old God hints. We got Eternal Throne 2, Nazjatar 2, and then for the Renown, we bring back the Nazjatari races. So we got Guild Goblins, we got, oh my god, the Ann Cohen, I did remember. And I called it like the United Nazjatari Resistance or something, right? So the Naga ascending, the Guild Goblin, the Ann Cohen, all of them join forces and are like, yo, we need your help. The Naga are doing this. Ashara's doing that. And then maybe there are some ascended Naga that disagree with Ashara. You know, they got ascended and they're like, yo, maybe we should chill out. Right? Or we just get normal. Like maybe there's normal Naga that don't want to side with her. It's basically the Ash Kahet storyline, but with Naga. And I think it'd be cool. Like I said, with Ashara, maybe at the end of this, she ain't bad. I know people want her to come back as maybe an anti-hero. I just think she'd be cool. You know, we can get the Ascended Naga models. Maybe those could be used for allied races if people want. And all that good stuff. And she'd be strong enough. Now, this is the one I really feel like is going to happen. I kind of feel like we've been building up to this thing to happen instead. And I'm going to break it down for y'all why I think that. So, when we did War Within, one of the people we met was the Arathi, right? We've been setting up the Arathi. We also met the Harnir. We got the Harnir, all that good stuff. One of the things that's been very interesting for the Arathi for me, right? And I've been consistent about this. It's elves and humans. Okay? So we have the Arathi Empire down over here. We have the Quel'Thalas Empire up here. Or civilization, right? We have these two civs. At some point, between 2,000, like 700 years ago and like 1,800 or 1,800 years ago, 2,700 and 1,800 years ago, something like that is the range. A group of Arathi and elves, okay, Quel'Thalas elves and Arathi, they were half elven, a half elven Arathi line from Thoradin left here. So you're telling me they went across the maelstrom? Something about that doesn't sit right with me. What does sit right with me is we know this is a globe, right? I think they left somewhere from this direction to end up where they went, right? To end up in Avaloran. Alright? So, in my opinion, what we may see here, so we have the island right here, okay? Atal Utek, 12.1. Then we have like a fancy looking, like a wrathy little border here, and it says Avaloran. And we're basically like going across the sea to this land where the Arathi are. This land, who we know had Titan heretics, right? I've said this before in an earlier video, but I'm laying it out again in this one. I think our final boss of this raid could be that Emperor Thordan. So the one we know about from the stories we got in Hollowfall is Emperor Thordan the Ninth. Maybe we see his successor, right? Emperor Thordan the Ninth had the vision of Renalash, which we may be living through. What does his successor see? What does he do next? Where are the first and second Arathi fleets? I don't see them showing up for the base midnight. Maybe I see some. I think we are getting some Arathi, but it's not the main Arathi. Right? We're getting a lot of the Army of the Light, but not any of the Arathi, and they want to be here. They would want to be here. Their Emperor literally had a vision. So, I think we may be seeing either the Ninth, the Emperor Thordan the Ninth, maybe Emperor Thordan the 10th, or maybe we go deeper. Right? And let's continue this. So, the final zone, Arathi homeland, Avaloran, across the sea. The final boss, Emperor Thordan. We team up for the renown with the Arathi Liberation Front, consisting of some people from a cult over there that just don't like the light, and now we have maybe something going on with the new well. Hint, hint. And we may be more aligned with the Cult of Shadows that exists over here versus the one that we saw in Hollowfall. We may be aligned with Farron and her allies. They may be like, yo, don't fight them. I've been here all along. It's fine. And we have a crisis. Because Farron also has royal blood. The other guy has, I guess, the more connected royal blood. You know how that is. And Crisis of the Throne, Arathi Empire. We go there, we fix it. Revolution, the Arathi Liberation Front. The raid, we could, maybe the raid's called like New Stromgard or something. And we have the Arathi Capital and Empire. We could also maybe use a tree that's over there to get over there, Harnir style. But I do think that would be a good representative of the light. This Emperor could be like turbo powerful. Because think about it, right? The Arathi in 15 years built all this. They got airships. They got this and that. Their main empire's got to be popping. So we could see like full Mecha Emperor. Well, we just saw Mecha Torque get full Light Emperor mode. Maybe we could see the Arathi Emperor go that way. You know, with the Sacred Fire. Alright? So, I definitely think New Stromgard is what I called it. I'm not sure if I said it, but yeah, Arathi Capital Empire. And again, in my opinion, we got to also lead into Last Titan. We got to also lead into Last Titan. So, how does all this lead into Last Titan? So let's pull up the map. So we run off. Here, let's pull up this map. So we run off over here, do this troll stuff. Then the Arathi stuff, we got to deal with that. We go over there, we deal with the Arathi stuff. And I've said it before. If the Titan heretics are there, we could find Titan stuff. Find a Titan heretic that is then like, yo, they're doing this. And that leads us into the last Titan. With Ashara, her going to an island with stuff, messing around with stuff, could also start what we end up doing for the last Titan. We do have some hints now that could lead us to the last Titan very easily, especially from the War Within with the whole Damn the Titans, Brinth, and that storyline. But these top two, I feel, can really lead into the last Titan with stuff going on with either Ashara or the Arathi and that island. The island they're on, Avaloran, I think has something, these Titan heretics, I think may be relevant. Alright, but that's my theories. Like I said, so we got 12.1. We pretty much know right now with data mining. And I hope it's extra troll. And then I'll recap my theories real quick. Zareth Lumen or Umbra. We got Zalatath, Void. It's all Void themed again. Purple, purple, purple. Maybe light if it does the flip here. Or she flips or wants to go to the alternate one. And then we have her versus some light people that we're helping. Or we got Old World. We can go to like fight Turellian for some reason. Yrel could pop up. And we do that light stuff. Or in my opinion, the two likely zones is either Nazjatar 2 with Ashara, Ascended Ashara. Or we go to Avaloran. We fight the Emperor of the Arathi, because he is also enemy, light enemy, because I do feel like Midnight is going to switch us from Void to Troll to fighting the light. And the troll raid is just theme. I hope it's a troll patch, but the final boss is like Kithix or something. I hope Ulatik isn't like the final boss or something. I don't want to fight Loa. I want to help Loa. But then we take that troll theme, and then that leads into Arathi, humans. From elves to troll to half human, half elf. Right? And then we go into the last Titan and do that other stuff with little teases of the Titan conspiracy. Alright? And that's it. I think this one is more... I did a similar video to this, but I think now with more info, I think the top two contenders are really sitting right there. But what do y'all think? Do you think Arathi? Do you think Naga? Do you think one of the other three? Do you think none of them and something else? But anyways, thank y'all for watching. I'll see you next time. I can't wait to get into Alpha. I'm going to go really into detail when I get through these quest lines from what I read about all of them. So great. I'm excited. Anyways, I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.